again, when we look at that, it's a model for what we are to become.
Exactly.
As the work of grace in our own lives creates us, recreates us in Christ's image as we grow in holiness.
Exactly.
That's, she is the greatest of God's creations because of his work of grace. But the difference, we got to make sure we clarify this, the difference between Mary, the greatest of all creations, and God, infinite.
Right.
Okay, we're not raising her to the level of Godhead
right.
by any means. But why was it important for the church to make this declaration?
Well, there's a twofold reason why this is crucial, why this is so important. One is Mary magnifies Jesus. My soul doth magnify the Lord. That Mary is the ultimate magnification of Jesus. As you and I, as you said, we're called to magnify the Lord. But Mary magnifies the Lord in a way that you and I could never, because of this reason. Mary tells us just how awesome Jesus is. You see, when Jesus was incarnate, he couldn't just be incarnate in any old vessel. You know, and we could get into the types of Mary as the fulfillment of the Ark of the Covenant in the Old Testament. The Old Testament types of Jesus Christ. The Old Testament, the 10 Commandments, the 10 words, the Aaron's rod that budded, and the manna that were contained in the Ark of the Covenant, we read about in 2 Samuel 6, were only types of Jesus, and yet they had to be contained in a very special container, and they could not be touched by sinful man. Only the high priest could even touch it to clean it. Well, how much more then would Mary, who didn't just have some stone and a staff inside of her, she had God. How much more would she have to be preserved from all sin? And maybe we can pick up on that
a little bit later. You know, another thing is that often the reason that the church is drawn to the place of defining a doctrine which it had always believed, didn't reinvent, but was because there are people challenging it and expressing it poorly. And I think one of that became from the battles of the Catholics and non-Catholics during the 17th and 18th centuries, and so we have in the 19th century the definition. But let's go back to the Reformers. Was this something that they had a problem with?
Now that was a shocker for me. I don't know about you. I don't know if you mentioned that, but we were talking before about this, and I was totally shocked when I found out that, for example, Martin Luther defended Mary's Immaculate Conception, as did John Calvin. And in fact, talking about Marian doctrines, even 200 years later, John Wesley still was a staunch defender of the perpetual virginity of Mary. And what you find in their writings is good Catholic theology. You know, when they talk about, you know, to think that the one who brings forth the Messiah could be sullied by sinful man is unthinkable, according to John Wesley. And Martin Luther had even stronger words.
Well, I was thinking then that, you know, some would say that this particular doctrine is a barrier to ecumenical relations, when in fact it would not have been a barrier to Martin Luther, John Calvin, or John Wesley, because that's what they held. And their followers probably don't know that because they've not taken the time to read that. But do you see this as a barrier to ecumenical relations?
You know, absolutely not. I shared with you that Mary was kind of my last obstacle, but you know, in my ministry, I find Mary to be one of my greatest tools of sharing the fullness of the faith, because once you begin to see the reality of Mary, Mary opens the floodgates to seeing Jesus in a new way, to seeing the communion of saints, our justification. And you know, I talked about how Mary magnified Jesus. Not only did she magnify Jesus, but she also teaches us about our own dignity, that you and I are called as well to imitate Mary in saying, let it be done unto me. Let it be done so that Jesus can be born in us, and through us, we can become instrumental causes of salvation in this world.
Excellent.